Okay, let's talk about Nvidia. It's so much more than a company at this point, right? It's a global phenomenon. Its value has just shot to the moon at a speed that has the entire financial world both incredibly excited and, frankly, a little bit terrified. So the big question isn't just for Wall Street, it's for everyone. Are we looking at a real, honest-to-goodness technological breakthrough, or are we staring at one of the biggest financial bubbles in history, just waiting to pop? Let's dig in. This is the question. The one that keeps people up at night. Is this just the dot-com boom and bust all over again, but with AI swapped in for the internet? The parallels, well, they're pretty hard to ignore. And this chart right here, this is what's causing all the anxiety. Just look at the shape of those two lines. The blue one, that's Cisco back during the dot-com bubble, with its value measured in billions. And the green line, that's Nvidia today, measured in trillions. The pattern is almost a perfect copy. And that little red eyebrow? Yeah, that's us. You are here. It's pointing to the exact moment that Cisco's rocket ship just ran out of gas and came crashing down. So this chart is basically screaming a question at us. Are we standing on a new peak, or are we just standing at the edge of a cliff? To really get what's at stake here, we need to zoom out. We have to understand the staggering, almost unbelievable size of this company. I mean, it's so big that comparing it to other companies doesn't even do it justice. We have to start comparing it to entire countries. 4.62 trillion. Trillion dollars. Just let that number hang in the air for a second. It's a number so huge it's almost abstract, right? So let's try to put it into perspective. So check this out. If Nvidia were a country, it would be the fourth largest economy on the entire planet. Think about that. It's worth more than the entire annual economic output of Japan, more than India, more than the United Kingdom. We're talking about one company being more valuable than entire G7 nations. It's just wild. Okay, let's try it another way. To build a pile of money as big as Nvidia's market cap, you'd have to take the entire economy of Canada for a whole year, and then you'd have to stack the entire economy of Brazil on top of it. All the people, all the resources, all the industry of two massive continent-sized countries, just to equal one company. Still not sinking in? Okay, how about a European combo? Let's take the entire French economy. All its wine, its luxury goods, its aerospace industry, everything. And then let's add the entire economy of the Netherlands to it. Even with all of that combined, you're still just barely getting to the value of Nvidia. All right, one last comparison, just to really drive it home. You could take the entire annual economic output of Russia, add on the entire economy of South Korea, which is a tech powerhouse in its own right, and you would still have money left over. The scale is just historic. There's no other word for it. So when you're dealing with a valuation this enormous, you have no choice but to look back through history. How does Nvidia really stack up against the biggest, most famous financial manias of all time? The original megacorporation, the OG Titan, was the Dutch East India Company. At its peak back in the 1600s, its value, adjusted for inflation, was almost $8 trillion. It was basically its own country with its own army. Now, as you can see, as mighty as Nvidia is, it's not quite there yet. It's a little more than halfway to that all-time historic peak. And then you have completely different kinds of bubbles. Take Japan in the late 80s. That wasn't about one single company. It was about real estate and stock prices just going completely insane. This quote just captures the madness perfectly. A tiny patch of land in Tokyo being worth more than all of California. That was a bubble based on pure speculative fantasy, totally disconnected from actual value. But really, the most important comparison, the one we have to look at, is Cisco in 2000 versus Nvidia today. And look, the story they were selling was identical. We're selling the picks and shovels, the essential plumbing for a new technological revolution. But when you look at the fundamentals, it is night and day. Just look at the PE ratio. That's basically how much you're paying for $1 of profit. Cisco was trading at almost 200 times its earnings. That's pure hope and speculation. Nvidia, it's trading at around 47 times earnings. Now, that's still high, don't get me wrong, but it's based on enormous, real, actual profits that it is making right now. Okay, so we've seen that scary chart, we've felt the mind-boggling scale, and we've put it all in historical context. Now it's time for the closing arguments. Let's lay out the case for why this is a bubble and the case for why this is the real deal. So on one hand, you have the yes, it's a bubble camp. Their argument, first, the risk is dangerously concentrated. The whole valuation depends on just a few tech giants continuing to spend billions on AI. Second, having one company worth more than most major countries, that's never happened before. It just feels wrong. And finally, maybe the market is just pricing in perfection, assuming this insane growth can go on forever. But the argument for no, it's a breakthrough is really strong too. Unlike the dot-com era, Nvidia is making staggering amounts of actual cash. And hey, if AI really is the next industrial revolution, then maybe $4+ trillion for the companies selling all the gear actually makes sense. And that P ratio of 47, yeah, it's high, but for a company growing this fast, it's not totally absurd. So, after weighing all the evidence, where do we land? What does this all mean? Well, the answer isn't a simple yes or no. It's a little more complicated than that. So here's the final verdict. If you define a bubble as just wild speculation on companies with no profits, like all those dot-com flameouts in 2000, then no, Nvidia doesn't really fit the description. Its profits are too real. Its valuation, while high, is too, well, sane, relatively speaking. And this right here, this gets to the absolute heart of it. It might not be a classic bubble, but what it represents is a totally new type of risk. We have quite literally never seen this much money, this much capital poured into a single company that is so completely dependent on one single thing, the massive global spending spree on AI infrastructure. And that leaves us with one final and kind of chilling question. It might not be a bubble in the way we usually think about them, but because of its sheer size and because all of its eggs are in this one AI basket, if that AI spending ever slows down, if that bubble bursts, the fall of Nvidia wouldn't just be another stock crash. It could very well be the single largest financial implosion the world has ever seen. And that is something to think about.